We are second episode of Vitality Show.
We are.
This is Miss Leanne. Miss Leanne is a superstar volleyball player, an ultramarathoner, and a mom, and she keeps Vitality Wellness Club going.
I do.
And you do about, I think I listed off, 4 things? You have about 40 more things that you do in your life, which is really fun. Really, this is supposed to be like a conversation, get people to know you, more about what we offer here, how it's impacted you, what's this been like for you, all that sort of jazz. So I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know you've been all over the place.
I have been all over the place. So here, I think my official title is General Manager / VP of Operations for Vitality Wellness Club.
Yeah.
Outside of here and the other things that I do, I am a volleyball player. I wouldn't say volleyball star. We're
Superstar.
old lady league,
No,
but we have fun.
But
we have fun. So aside from that, really, first and foremost, I'm a mom. Mom and wife. My kids are the most important thing in my life. I've learned like through all their sports and things like that. So I do volunteer coach basketball. We just rolled into track season, so I'm volunteer coaching track season. It's been a blast. And aside from that, like, you know, I'm an ultramarathoner. I've completed 200 Ks in one go around.
Wow.
So 18 hours of running, no sleep. And so, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I'm blessed to do all of it.
Yeah.
And a calendar really helps. And I think the most important thing is my super supportive husband who helps with all of that too.
Now, does he run it all with you?
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just conned him into signing up for a half marathon when I do a full marathon.
Nice.
He's got 4 weeks to prepare for it.
Is he gonna be ready?
He'll be ready. He's a Marine.
Yeah, he's ready.
He's a Marine.
He can just show up and do it. Probably.
Exactly. So
his feet might hurt, but he'll be all right.
yeah, exactly.
Nice.
We'll get him into, you know, Balancer Pro, or we'll get him into some of the services.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's cool. So you started over a year ago here.
Yeah.
Before that, you were everywhere.
Yeah, I have my own small personal training company. So I have about 4 clients that I see throughout the week, which is awesome. My day usually starts at 4:30 in the morning. My first client's at 5 a.m. And if I'm not training a client, I'm training at 5 a.m. And then get the kids' lunches made. Everyone's out the door. Get myself here to Vitality on time every time.
Never late. Never been late. Not once.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's kind of like what my routine looks like.
Yeah.
And then what else do I do? I don't know, lots of things.
Yeah. Well, you have a dog.
I do, which is my favorite running partner.
Yeah.
Don't tell my husband.
Don't tell my husband. And you have an exchange student.
We are hosting a foreign exchange student.
And she is pretty awesome, sounds like, for the kids, but also for you guys, just perspective and everything like that.
Oh my gosh. It kind of just fell into our lap. We found out 1 week before we knew that we were going to get a foreign exchange student. Essentially, my sister saw a Facebook post. She's friends with the coordinator, the local coordinator, and she's like, you guys would be perfect. In the description, it was like this, you know, a female from Italy who's a triathlete, loves outdoors, loves traveling, wants a family with a dog. And we're like, check, 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 because traveling's a really big part of our life too. And so we're like, okay. And with my husband having such a diverse background and being a Spanish teacher and just traveling the world, it just makes sense. I feel like. And when I brought it to him, I was like, hey, would you be interested in this? And he's like, well, let's find out about it. And I was like, well, you know, it's like getting a puppy. You don't just ever just go look at a puppy. Like if we're going to ask about it. Yeah, exactly. You're leaving with a puppy. So I said, okay, well, if we're going to ask about it, we have to be ready. So within 1 week, we found out because the family that she was supposed to stay with had fallen through. And so she has been the best blessing to our family. You know, she's a senior in high school. She's truly living the American dream right now. And, you know, most of the time, I would say all the foreign exchange students dream about the American prom. It's like one of those things.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gearing up for that. And
prom is coming up.
Yeah, promposals are a thing.
Promposal.
Yeah.
I did a promposal.
Did you? I didn't think they've been around that long. Not that I'm calling you old, but.
Well, yeah.
How'd you do it?
How long ago was that? Oh my gosh. I made her go on a scavenger hunt, I think.
A scavenger hunt? Oh, that's a good idea.
I think so.
Yeah.
That might have been our engagement. That was definitely our engagement.
Because you guys are high school sweethearts. You and Megan are high school sweethearts.
2007.
Oh my gosh, that woman is a saint.
Let's see, August. Yeah, this is 17 years and 8 months since we've been together.
Wow. Oh
and
my gosh.
And I just turned 34. So
yeah,
it's been over half our lives together, which is really cool.
it is cool. I really still don't feel, if that had to be your engagement, I feel like promposals are in the last like
I
decade.
I did something like I asked her to go to prom with me.
Yeah.
At Myers Park, which is like where we used to camp all the time, and we used to launch our boat from there.
Cool.
And we used to have soccer camp there. Megan used to teach at a soccer camp there. Anyway,
lots of
I
history.
think it was, I don't know. I'm definitely wrong, but she'll come.
She's gonna watch this and be like, immediately send me a text message.
Of course.
Yeah. So so fun.
So promposal.
Promposal, that's what we're gearing up for.
We're gearing up for
that.
that.
We have a couple dresses on the line.
Oh, wow.
And so it's fun. But yeah, she, like she's in track season right now. She did swim and cross country. I think the most important thing, like the most impressive thing with her is she came here running a 25-20 5K in cross country, and she ended the season at a 21-28.
Wow.
Which is so impressive. I mean, that's a 4-minute time difference. And so she's really like fell into her own in cross country. Compression therapy has like changed her life. Foam rolling.
That's cool.
I'm preventive maintenance specialist, so teaching her all the important little things that athletes aren't doing that are going to give them that extra edge, which is really what Vitality encompasses. Is it's all those little things that your opponent isn't doing that's going to give you that extra edge to make you an elite level or the champion or
it's
best
like,
version
how do
of
you
you.
get like back in the day when we were competing, being a single sport athlete was like not really a thing. Like you did everything, and it was starting to come around like my age group. People were really starting to specialize in doing things, and then it became like if you don't specialize, you're just going to fall behind. And those are like big things. Like you got to wrestle all year long. It's like, man, that's a lot of wrestling to do.
That's a lot, yeah.
Or soccer or whatever. And I remember just like thinking about that and seeing the kids fall behind who were like winning.
Sure.
And then they wanted to play football and they wanted to, play baseball, and they started to fall behind the other kids who just wrestled full time.
Yeah.
And it was just like, dang, like I don't want to fall behind either. But that's like a big thing. And then after that, everyone wrestles full time. So now it's like, well, what do you do after that? Well, maybe it's foam rolling. Maybe it's, getting in the compression boots. Maybe it's going to sleep an hour earlier, waking up an hour earlier, whatever it is. There's so many little things that you have to do, like that 1%. Like, how can I become 1% better?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to get 1% better every day, but if that's what you're striving for, like that's what you can do. And something as simple as, sitting on a lacrosse ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just learning more about like, how can I connect my muscles this way and this way?
Yeah.
Or, what is a way that I can recover faster?
Definitely.
So it's really cool to see like sports, and it's, sports is changing, but also life is changing too. You have people who are really taking care of themselves and like not trashing their bodies for the rest of their life. And like, man, let's figure this out. Like, I really need to feel better, because when I feel better, it's great. Like, I'm sure when you miss a run, that's like,
oh
man.
Well, yeah, because you kind of mentally beat yourself up, but sometimes physically it's a break that your body needs, right? So I think that's kind of like the beauty of growing older as an athlete is like learning when to listen to your body, right? Your body really does know what you need. And yeah, there are those times where you have to push past mentally. Is it like, do I really just not want to go for this run? Or like, is my body telling me you need to take a break?
Yeah.
And so that's where like dialing into those things really can make a difference. But I think about myself as like a high school athlete. I mean, I played sports my whole life, and I was never a runner, by the way. Didn't pick that up till I was till I was 30.
Funny.
I never became a runner. I played volleyball and basketball pretty much my whole life.
Warren Buffett of running.
Yeah, and it cracks me up because I'm 5'2", so like volleyball and basketball, like
that's perfect for you.
Solid back row, solid point guard. I mean, that's what I got. That's what I have to offer. So but I always tell my kids, like, every sport that you play is 50% hustle, 50% skill. And as long as you're always, I don't know, is it? If you start singing it, I'm out. No, okay, I'm just kidding. But yeah,
5% luck, 20%.
Oh yeah, it's a rap song.
Yeah,
you're right.
Something like that.
I like that. Yeah.
Gosh, I should know that song.
Should.
I really should. But anyway,
it is though, and that's the thing. As long as you want to be out there, like that's where the magic really does happen. It's like you can tell the kids that care and the kids that don't. But I never picked up. I didn't even know what foam rolling was. I mean, there was no preventive anything. I remember doing static stretching before training, and now knowing what I know now, I'm like, right? Why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
And so I think that's another like avenue, right? Is with my small personal training company, I was able to sign a contract with our local high school, and I was able to be the strength and conditioning coach. But really, I brought in that extra piece that like the high school sports coaches aren't required to be like personal trainers or know how the body works. And so that is, it's great that schools are starting to tap into those kind of things too.
I think learning is like a big deal,
Yeah.
and that's like our biggest hurdle right now with Vitality is just like, how do we teach people, what is really going to move the needle for them?
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as, like, oh, I'm feeling down. Like, I just feel like my energy's low. It's like, well, how about you get in the red light for 14 minutes and then you get in the cold plunge for 3 minutes. And then we'll see how you feel.
It's being subject matter expert, but then also like the same thing that we instill in the team is the only way you're going to find everybody walks in this door for a reason, and it's our job to find out why. Right? If we let them leave here without knowing the real reason why they wanted to use compression therapy or they wanted to use the hyperbaric chamber, then it's a miss, right? Because we're doing them a disservice. And so the best way to do that is to have a conversation, right? We have so much knowledge on the services that we offer in the modalities and what they do and how they can enrich your life. So we want to tell them all about it, but really we have to take a step back sometimes and say, hold on, I want to tell you about all this stuff, but like, what's the goal here? What is your goal, right? And I'll use an example. We had a client that wanted to use red light the other day. I had never met her, just had a conversation like, hey, have you ever used red light before? And she said, no, I haven't ever used the panels. A lot of the females or just in general have ones for their face, which are a different type, right? We're trying to tap into skin health, particularly face health, collagen stimulation. But with our panels, it kind of exposes it to a whole nother level where you can have the improved eye health, improved sleep patterns, right? And so she had she went to Vegas and got a massage. And they had used an essential oil that she didn't know she was allergic to. And so she's on the upswing of it, but she was like, I have like this irritation all over my back. And so had I not asked her why she was here, I would have never been able to tell her, hey, like you should actually spend the entire session posterior and allow that red light to penetrate into that area to help clear it up. So it's really just a matter of asking questions and being able to guide our clients to be able, I always say like, everything we offer here is one size fits all, but it's not, right? Because everyone has different goals. So it's our job as team members here to figure out what our clients' goals are.
Like what are the tools that we have? How do we use the tools effectively? And not waste your time, but also not waste our time. And we just want to help, and we're not really doing anything. Like your body's doing it. And you're going to detox, like your body knows how to detox. Sometimes it just needs a little help.
For sure.
And if it's the red light or if it's, getting the cocoon tub or, whatever it is, there's always something that we can do that maybe move the needle for you.
Sure.
And I think some people, like you said, come in and they're just like, I just need a place to escape for an hour.
Right.
Like, okay, yeah, no problem.
We got that.
Like we got that, and some people are like, well, just like trying to find out, my groove a little bit. And it's like, all right, well, why don't you come down and sauna with us and we'll just, find someone to chat with literally every time that you're in here. Which is always fun. And I think it's kind of cool that we have some higher end products like the cocoon and hyperbaric and lymphatic drain, which is more like it's kind of solo.
Sure.
But you're coming down and you kind of, if you're in the hyperbaric, you're hearing the cycle studio pop off. You're hearing people in the sauna. If you're in the cocoon tub or in the compression room, like you're just hearing these people and like, man, this sounds kind of fun. I kind of want to be here. And the more and more people learn about us, the more they want to come down, the more time they want to spend. And that's something that we're really trying to push here. And I think that you've been an integral part in that, which is great because, it's just like, hey, how can, what do you need? How do we want to get you in here more often? And because it's not just a one-time, a one-off thing that's going to make a difference.
Sure.
Just like with running or just like with, anything.
Anytime, like anything
consistency.
in life.
Like that. I feel
Repetition.
like I hear consistency come out of your mouth a lot. Whether you're talking to a client or the team or to me or to your kids, it's just like, all right, let's be consistent. And so what do you think is stops somebody from being consistent, or what is something that you've done to stay consistent where other people might fall off the horse, or that old saying? Like what do you think about that?
Goals. Undoubtedly
having a goal.
goals. Yeah. Undoubtedly goals, at least for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that accountability piece.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times where, and I will use my running, for example, is essentially if I set a goal for myself, I'm going to say, hey, Kyle, guess what? I
Mm-hmm.
set this goal for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the first thing you're going to ask me when
Hey,
I
how'd it
see
go?
yeah. And
Yeah.
I am not going to be going to be like,
Mm-hmm.
actually, I didn't do
Yeah.
it, you know? So
Social pressure.
yeah, absolutely. So
Mm-hmm.
it's making those goals, finding somebody to keep you accountable,
Mm-hmm.
and just showing up for you every day,
Yeah.
right? It's like I'll use the Hyperbaric as an example. Anytime I'm giving a tour, somebody's like, hey, you know, like, what's the protocol on this?
Mm-hmm.
There is a protocol for, depends on what the client is looking for, how we can help them,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can suggest different protocols for them.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're doctor ordered. Sometimes doctors will send clients
Mm-hmm.
into us and say, hey, this is what we'd like for them to do, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? It's super awesome.
It's just another layer of like authority kind of. It's like some people just like to be like, okay, it's not just me looking up on WebMD, like this could help. It's like my doctor being like, hey, yeah, you should actually try this.
Right.
See if it does anything.
Yeah. And I always say, like, it's not, you can't just get on the Hyperbaric one time, leave and be like, yep, got the results I want. Exactly like going to the gym. You don't just leave there. So I usually use that, like create that picture for clients because they know what it's like where you think you just go to the gym. They know you can't just go to the gym one time and then achieve the results you're looking for. So it's just a matter of staying consistent, a matter of, you're not always going to be motivated, right? That's why you need the accountability. And so that's where kind of the magic happens is when you're setting that goal for yourself, you're like, this is what I'm going to do. And it could be a small, it doesn't have to be some big extravagant goal. It's, you know, and sometimes like January, we did a promotion where we wanted, anytime somebody checked in to use a sauna or cold plunge or any service that we offer, they got to enter their name into a drawing. And there was like people that were like, I'm coming every day. I want my name in that. And, you know, like they'd be like, they'd check us, big fat check us. Like, hey, is my name in that? You know? So
awesome.
It's setting those, sometimes we can set it for people, right? But you can't, you can only do so much for people. At the end of the day, you have to want it. Yeah. You have to want it.
There's this aspect of just like we're so inundated with information and there's so many options now. Yeah. Like there, you know, you could go be doing this or doing that or, you know, whatever. And we kind of have everything in one location. Yeah. And it's nice to have it all here. Yeah. So people can, you know, use different tools at different times. Because that's kind of why we built it. We built it because David and I at the time some was at my house, some was at his house, some was at Rec Hall, you know, some was at our other studio. It's just like, what are we doing? Like, we need everything in one place because I don't want to be driving around in a car for 2 hours a day trying to get somewhere. Yeah. So now it's just super convenient to have it in downtown location. You know, students are a big part of this, but we're finding more and more people from the community are coming down and actually enjoying being downtown. It's like, oh, I'd never really come downtown, but you know, I'm kind of desperate to come down and use such and such, you know, it's worth it for me. And I think that's really what the downtown district wants to do anyway, is they want to make it like more of a destination for people in the community. And that's pretty exciting to be a part of that because I think that we do have some great things going on here, upstairs, and around. Yeah. I think it's not just for the students. I think we get lost in that a little bit. Like a lot of people are like, hey, I'm on South Atherton. I don't go to North Atherton. Like I don't even ever go up there. Or I'm on North Atherton.
It's the divide. Mason-Dixon. You just
can't. Like, are we kidding?
Know, so
like,
far.
Come on. It's a 15-minute drive. And it's funny when you know, like
without traffic,
literally without traffic. You can get anywhere in 15 minutes.
I love State College.
Well, you lived in big cities before, so it's like hours and hours driving. It's like, well, okay, if it's going to take that long.
For sure.
But yeah, so there's just so many cool things, cool directions that we can help people go. And I think you're right on the consistency standpoint. And being able to stay consistent is kind of lost because you can try so many different things. Oh, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go over here. And well, I read this, and then actually someone said it's actually not that good for you. You know, like, you know, the sun is not that good for you because of this, this, and this. It's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to test it out on yourself, or do you want me to tell you, like, you want me to be like, no, you have to do this? Sure. And everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah. And I do like, I'm referencing back to the sense of community and things like that, and how it's kind of great to get our local clientele in that aren't just students. Because yes, they do make up a big part, but if you've ever sat in our sauna, which you have, I think it's the coolest thing because you can have somebody who's like a contractor, a professor, a student, you know, MMA fighter, whatever, you know, we have, and it's extra cool because one, you can kind of read the room, but when you get like in an atmosphere like that, it's first of all great networking.
Yeah.
Second of all, it helps the time go so much faster because we do have a hot sauna, which is awesome. But then you also just get to know people in your community and be like, holy smokes, like I got to talk to, you know, I'm going to use you as an example. Like there was a kid that came out, he's like, do you know Kyle Dake's in there? I was like, I do. I was like, do you know that Kyle Dake actually owns this place? And he's like, oh my gosh, right? You know, so it's those kinds of things. And, you know, I have to admit something, Kyle, I've told you a million times, but I never watched a single wrestling match until I saw you in the Olympics in Paris this year. And now it's like, you know, with the wrestlers that come in or whoever comes in, you know, it's like, I pretend like I know wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, I know the body and sport.
Oh, yeah, Kyle kicked his butt. He wrestled really well. And he didn't even wrestle. Well, he thought about wrestling.
Exactly. You know, so I was like, okay. So, but it is just like just sitting in that sauna. It's kind of cool what can happen and who walks in. You just never know who's going to walk in. You know, and that's kind of the best part.
And the cool part is like, well, for me, I go overseas a lot. So in Europe, you know, everywhere in Europe, sauna is just like a part of their culture. And here it's not. You know, like everyone associates the sauna with, you know, a dirty, moldy sauna in some old gym or the YMCA or something like that. And we have like a pristine, super clean
cedar sauna.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
So nice.
Yeah.
And it's just something different that people aren't used to. And really, I think just having people come down and like see and really see the value of what we have, you know, it's, and like you said, everyone has like a different goal. And like, what is your goal? Like some people are like, man, I'm just so tired. I'm so tired. Like, how do I get out of this rut? It's like, well, consistently use this, and this, and let's talk in 30 days. You know, and let's see how it goes. And I think you will see a big difference.
For sure.
I mean, people come in about red light and their sleep, and they're like,
changed my life.
Oh my gosh, I've never had so much sleep. So you were talking about that yesterday or a couple days ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Because you track with your
I do with my Garmin.
Okay.
Yeah. So I track my sleep. I've been consistently tracking it for probably since I started like in the thick of ultra training. Just because sleep it controls everything. I mean, everyday life, like you can have the best day ever with the best night's sleep, or you can have the worst night of sleep and have the worst day ever. So it really just controls, and sleep is where the magic happens. That's when your body starts to heal itself, right? That is the magic of it all. But when I started using red light, so in January, I set a goal for myself. I said I don't like to use New Year's resolution. Yeah. But I set a goal at the beginning of the year, which is a fancy way of saying New Year's resolution, that I would use the red light consistently 5 minutes minimum before every one of my shifts. So I would come in 5 minutes earlier, or I'd get the whole studio ready, and then I'd kick on those red lights and just sit in front of them. So since our panels are red light and near infrared, I'm able to utilize both of those. So what I have noticed, two things, which I know you and Eric discussed on episode one. But the first one undoubtedly is my sleep. And I have hard data to prove it. And so I told my husband, because January is still cold, I'm like, maybe it's because I'm like sleeping with a little more layers. He likes to sleep super cold. I don't. Okay. Right? I can add layers. He can't take off layers. And so I was like, maybe I'm sleeping. And he's like, nothing has changed. And I was like, oh, yes, it has. You know, it's red light. There's not a doubt in my mind that that is what has helped me. And so that's what I try to explain to people. And I always tell everybody that comes in, I'm like, this is the furthest thing from a sales pitch. This is true testimony. I'll show you my Garmin data if you want to see it. And so I would say consistently where I see the numbers, I always try to get 7 hours is my magic number of sleep, right? Where like 6 is not enough and 8's like, I don't want to get out of bed. And so I used to be about an hour and a half of deep sleep and then 4.5 of the light sleep. And now those numbers are switched. So I think the most, and I shared this on social media, I think the most I'd gotten was like 6 hours of deep sleep on a weekend. And it was like, I probably got, I don't know, 12 messages like, how? What is this? Right? And so it's just so lovely. Who doesn't love good sleep? I know. So that's the biggest thing for me is using that consistently. That's totally changed my
so you said
life.
Number 1 was sleep. Number 2, Eric and I talked about a little bit.
Eye health. So I'm blind. I shouldn't say that. It's very subjective. I have very poor vision. I've had glasses since I was in the 5th grade. Very nearsighted. And so for the last 8 years, I've gone at least a quarter size worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm like negative 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
Once you hit like 6.5, they stop going in quarters, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, nope, we're just going to
7,
give you
8, 9, 10, 11.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so consistently, and I'm pretty religious about getting my eyes checked every year consistently. And so for the last 8 years, it's gotten worse, it's gotten worse, it's gotten worse. And so I was curious to see with the red light, if that would make any difference, because, you know, when you do research on it and some
there's a lot of claims about like,
tons,
there's
there's
anecdotal evidence, and then there's some research to show too. And anyway,
that's also the joy of it. Almost all of our modalities have so much, now they've been around long enough where there's so much research backing it. So I'm like, okay, you know, I would love to see. So I went, and this was after like 3 months of consistently using the red light 5 days a week. And they didn't get better, but they didn't get worse for the first time ever.
Wow.
And then I did come in and tell Eric, and Eric's like, I don't want to one-up you, but mine actually improved. And so I'm like, I'm thrilled. Like, you can one-up me all day long, you know? So it is really cool. It's just one of those things where I can have two hard, you know, health is one of those things that's tricky because you can't see the results right away, right? And so that's where we live in a world of instant gratification. We want to see results right away. If your phone takes more than 2 seconds to load the browser, we're impatient, right? We live in that world of instant gratification, and no matter what technology comes out, no matter what secret sauce comes out, there's no quick return on health. It's just a matter of time and consistency when you have those two together, right? And so it's giving it that time, giving it that consistency, and that's really where like you can actually see like, hey, this actually is working, you know? So it's a cool thing.
That is really cool. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can improve our health, and you know, there's just literally, it's kind of endless because, and unfortunately, we are so unhealthy, you know, just culture makes us unhealthy. You know, we get instant gratification by being on our phone all the time. We get those little micro dopamine hits all the time. Boom, 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 boom. And we don't have this like longer, more satisfying, satiating, like way of getting dopamine. Sometimes it's running, or for me, it's wrestling, or, you know, even just like, you know, what is more exciting for me? Is it like, do I want to grab my phone or look into my 3-month-old's eyes? You know, it's just like, man, like, where did we get so lost in some of this? And how do we start reeling it back in and being like, okay, well, I'm going to try to be the best human that I can be.
Definitely.
And what does that look like? And some of this stuff, you know, like obviously getting out into nature would be like awesome. You know, if I could live out in a hut on top of a mountain or on a beach or something, I would. But at the same time, it's just like there's a reality of life that everyone is living, you know, and people are like, well, what's my minimum effective dose? Like, what can I do to get closer to that without giving up, you know, my job and my convenience of being close to friends and family and like all of these other things? So how do we balance that out? And sometimes it's a 3-minute cold plunge. Sometimes it's getting a little bit uncomfortable in the sauna, or, you know, there's so many things that we can offer, which is kind of cool.
Like and this kind of, a couple of things that you said kind of bring me back to, you know, when we first opened, it was awesome because there was a lot of like news coverage and, you know, any of the newspapers were coming out. And so most of them were asking kind of the same questions. And so I was kind of essentially giving the same answers. And then one interviewer came in, and she said, "What makes Vitality so cutting edge?" And I like stopped for a second and I said, well, actually nothing, because these are practices that have been around for thousands of years. The red light is found in the sunrise and the sunset. We just have it here concentrated and available, especially during like seasonal, right? Seasonal affective disorder, things like that are really true. Sauna has been around for thousands of years. Cold water immersion, right? Contrast therapy alone. They used, I forget what movie we were watching, but it was like there was a fire built next to a cold stream, right? And they were somebody was super sick and they were trying to utilize those. Which is true. Compression therapy, since they could wrap bandages around limbs. You know, it's all of those things. And I would say of all of our modalities, the only two, and even the hyperbaric's been around since the 50s. And now there's some more data supporting that. Cocoon is certainly a newer one, but I think those two are the only ones that haven't been around for a long time.
Well, the interesting part of Cocoon is that the number one prescribed drug in the world is oxygen. You know, like if you go to a hospital, like, you need oxygen. Like if that's a big deal, like your body can't function without it.
Right.
And obviously it's a little bit different way of getting the oxygen, you know, through your skin. And it kind of just takes some of the pressure off of your blood and your breathing. Obviously you can't live in there.
Sure.
Come like a salamander kind
Yeah.
of breathing underwater, but
Benjamin Button.
yeah. But yeah, anyway, so it's like kind of cool that we have these different tech. It's like you were saying, I think you said it's like a combination of old world and new world.
It is, absolutely. Yep, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's everything just under one roof.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the cool part is, when people come in for just one of our day passes, right? They want to try it out. And so that allows them to utilize our 4 wellness services.
Mm-hmm.
They're always like, how long should we plan for? And we always say about 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but you'll want to come back.
Yeah.
And they usually always do.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And before people leave here, and this is something that I get our team on the same board, on the same page as well, is like, I always challenge the person that is here to tap into something before they leave. And it's generally their sleep, because all of them really tie into sleep and energy levels, right? Those are like the 2 major things that everybody wants. Who doesn't want more energy and who doesn't want a good night's sleep?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And we have the tools that can help with that without taking a magic pill or without taking something that your body is going to start getting immune to, right? And so I would say, hey, that's what I'm going to challenge you to do. I'm going to challenge you to tap into your sleep and tap into your energy levels today, right? Especially with the cold plunge. I always tell, especially with the cold plunge, I always say, essentially what it is. So many people think that caffeine gives them energy, but caffeine actually, the only thing that can give you energy is food, nutrition, right? Caffeine is just engaging your parasympathetic system, your fight or flight system. And so when you're getting into that cold plunge, it's tapping into that same system. And so in order to equate that to people, I'm like, it'd be like if you were shotgunning coffee, right? Like that's the same feeling you're going to get when you get out of the cold plunge. Just this morning, we had someone using the cold plunge for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And we do offer coaching, right? I think the hardest part with cold plunge is it looks like it should be easy.
Yeah.
You're just getting into a tub.
It's so easy.
Yeah, it's so easy.
I've gotten into a tub before.
Yeah, and then you get in the tub and you're like, nope.
Panicking.
Yep, exactly.
Hands out, toes out, like, please get me out of this thing.
You get to learn a lot about people when you watch them cold plunge, right? How they handle like a a stressful situation, because it is engaging your fight or flight, your parasympathetic. And so there was so she said, wait, so I don't have to have coffee today? And I was like, I actually challenge you to not have coffee today and see how you feel. So she's going to try that. And then that also brings me back to one other funny story. We had couples. We had 2 couples come in. It was actually on Valentine's Day. They did like a day thing together. And 2 very different couples, really. And since we have the extra large cold plunge tubs, they could plunge at the same time. So like the husband and wife were in one and the other husband and wife were in the other. And, the one wife is like, oh my gosh, she's losing her mind about how cold it is and she can't. And her husband is like, has gone to this very zen place where he's like, she's like, why aren't you talking? And why aren't you like, how are you handling this? And I was like, he's the guy I want in a stressful situation.
How do you handle your problems? Do you freak out or you calm through it and just try to breathe?
Exactly. He was like, and she said, it's funny that you say that because if something goes wrong, I'm the first one to be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And he's like, hold on, let's unpack this situation first. I was like, hey, if things go down, I'm calling you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a cool thing. And I think that's what also is just fun for people to see their first experience in a cold plunge. And then once they do it one time, they're like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
You know what to expect.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it any easier. And some days are harder than others.
Yeah.
And that just depends on so many factors, right?
Yeah.
For women, your cycle can play into that. For men, it could be their sleep patterns. So it's just cool. People come in and just do their thing. And I think that's the best part.
Yeah. When we're kids, we have to learn how to be resilient in a lot of ways. And the only way to do that is to do challenging things. Yeah. Like if you're just in your comfort zone all the time, like, what are you doing? Yeah. How are you going to grow if you don't challenge yourself? There was a little video of a kid who, I think he was like 7 years old. His mom sent him into Chick-fil-A or something like that. It was like, hey, go order. You're going to pay, get your lunch, and come out here. And if someone's giving you a hard time, just ask to speak to the manager and tell them that I sent you in and this is like a part of it. So the kid goes in, he comes out, and he's just like, my legs are still shivering. I'm so, like, I was nervous, but I did it. Man, it was so fun. It was like he just did something that was difficult. And it was like, wow, how powerful that is for a 7-year-old. We still need that as adults. We still need to do hard things.
Absolutely.
And to feel like, proud of what we've done. And that comes in different formats for everybody, and to do challenging things. Some people just like want to get away from that. They don't want to do hard things. And I think, whether it be running ultramarathon or hitting extra reps that I don't want to hit in wrestling or getting in a cold plunge or, being consistent, like waking up every morning to come get in the sauna
Yeah.
or to do the cycle class or to do something. Like being consistent and doing those difficult things actually plays a huge role in your mental health too.
Yeah, and then they don't become difficult anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They become part of your life.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
It's like you want to get to the point where it's like it doesn't seem like a task to do it. Your body so the human body is amazing. It does what we train it to do. Right.
Yeah.
And so, and I'll use like sugar as an example. If anyone's ever tried to cut sugar out of your diet, it's hard to do. And then also when you start to reintegrate it back into your life, you're like, whoa, this is super sweet.
Yeah,
Nothing about that Oreo has changed or, that product's still the same. It's your taste buds that have changed, right? And my husband and I, we don't eat. Another way I survive balancing life is meal prepping.
Yeah.
I'm a meal prep enthusiast. So I have, my blog and things like that.
Stresses me out.
It does. But,
Gosh, it stresses me
Megan
out.
does a great job. I feel like she prepares.
Yeah, she cooks for us. But if I try to put 7 Tupperwares out to cook, I'm like,
nah.
This isn't for me.
Yeah, I do buffet style meal prep. So
I
cook a big batch of chicken, a big batch of eggs, right, and then we mix and match throughout the week.
Yeah.
That has truly that is the secret. Is just in order for us to all still eat healthy. Also living where we live. I mean, there's sheets by us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of been a blessing because you don't have that quick convenience.
Yeah.
You gotta cook.
Yeah.
But circling back to that is when you don't eat out very often, which we don't, and then we go out to eat, I am so thirsty because you just don't realize how salty, right, those things are. And people that eat out consistently, they just think, hey, this food tastes great.
Yeah, this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and so it's, but once again, we had trained our bodies to not crave or need that much sodium or whatever it is, like flavoring. And so same thing with a routine, right? I read this quote one time and it was about running, of course. And it said, the more I run, the more I want to run.
Yeah.
But then I got to thinking, you could put any action verb in there and it would be true because you're training yourself, right? So it's the more I eat healthy, the more I want to eat healthy.
Yeah.
But it could be the flipped. The less I eat healthy, the less I want to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Right? It depends. It doesn't matter what it is. But at the end of the day, when you unpack it, it's you are training your body to crave those things.
Yeah.
It's getting through those first couple weeks where it does start to feel like a chore to getting to where it's just part of your life. And it makes your life better.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah, I think that's one of the cool things that Vitality offers is just the people that we have involved here.
Yeah.
We've had some great employees who have come through and been a part of it. Currently we love our staff, so they've all done a great job. And just helping them learn too.
Sure.
The way you're teaching them to be consistent and hey, this is kind of how we do it. This is what we're looking for. We want to tap into an emotion. We want to see what their problem is. We want to do this.
Yeah.
This is how we greet them. This, these are what we do. And the reason we do it this way is because we want people to feel comfortable to come back here to do those hard things or to, to learn about themselves as well. And while we're in the education business of hey, this is what cold can do if you just hop in, but it's also what are the other things that we add on? Whether it be, hey, have you also you got sciatica pain? Maybe you should try this or this or this.
Sure.
Or, I've waken up and I feel pretty, I got some brain fog, so I need to have that coffee right away or I need this or that. So just being able to assess, because you just have so much experience.
Sure.
I've had a ton of experience on dealing with different things and tapping into different things. We're teaching our employees, they're teaching us too.
Yeah.
But we're teaching them hey, this is what we're learning. This is what we've learned. This is what we've gone through. You test it out first, whether it be, test out, intermittent fasting. Okay, we have a client who's doing 72-hour fast.
72-hour fast.
So, but those little things, that's a part of the community.
Yeah.
Our employees are as much a part of the community as our clients.
Sure.
And they're the ones who are helping them along and giving them the advice.
Yeah, definitely. And you say this often, everybody that walks into Vitality, we want them to know what to expect, which is why that consistency is important, right? It's they know what they're going to get every time they come in here. And so essentially it's with I think the coolest part about working at Vitality, because this is not something that I had ever envisioned myself doing, because it was never something that was ever in my life, right? I never had these types of modalities.
You were solo.
Yeah, and so it's totally gotten me to where I am, as far as my ultramarathons and things like that, just personal goals. But also, when you look at my degree, for example, so I went to Arizona State health science degree with a focus in healthy lifestyle coaching.
Okay.
Right. And so I have been a personal trainer. I've done the nutrition. So I was the former human performance coach for the Marines and sailors when we were stationed in Camp Pendleton. So I worked for the DoD. So I was able to provide nutrition information.
Yeah.
I'd go and give nutrition briefs. And then I also do like, test resting metabolic rate. I would do VO2 max testing. Lots of things like that.
Yeah.
Different side of wellness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But also still finding those hard data,
Yep.
right? Where people can see the numbers. And then, I bring in this new aspect. It's kind of like that third piece. And I've had like a mentor in each one of those. Like when it came to nutrition, I had my supervisor. Her name is Heather Williams. So knowledgeable. Now she works for the CDC. Great reference. When it came to the body, I learned all about all those things, but until you actually use them, Matt Petrarca, he's local here in State College, learned so much from him about the body. I knew about the body, but then it was like those biomechanic pieces that he had instilled in me. And then you here at Vitality, you were just like, I always say, like, I can't wait to hear like people have nerdy conversation with Kyle because you really do. And you always say this too, is like, just enough to be dangerous. Right?
Yeah.
And so, you definitely like have tapped into it primarily because you've used it all as part of your training to get to the level that you're at. So it's like finding those three different pieces and then being able to put them all together and then share that with our staff and then ultimately share it with our community.
Yeah.
That's the why.
Yeah.
That's why, what we do is so important.
And it's just more than it's not transactional here, which I like me coming down, like I'm not forward facing all the time. I'm kind of in back here working on whatever, and I'll go out and see you guys interact with our clients. And it's just like, oh, they're doing a really nice job. Like, that's sweet. They're making it feel like more than just like, all right, come take your ticket. Like, we'll see you in there. Like, good luck. It's like not that.
It's not the DMV. We are not the DMV.
Yeah.
We are VWC.
Yeah, we are VWC, not the DMV. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I mean,
but,
did you expect anything less from this?
I know. So
honey mind.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like any of the specials that we run, you have to come up with a cool idea.
Yeah,
I come up with something terrible first, and then you make it work.
I refine it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I missed my marketing calling maybe somewhere down the line.
I know.
But,
we'll get you out there. Well,
it is.
But I mean, this job is crazy too because we're a brand new business. We're wearing so many different hats.
Sure.
We've had so much just things happen over the last year, like 2024 was just an insane year for me, but also for the business.
Sure.
Like we're just like trying to figure everything out and being adaptable. That's like one of the things I really value in a person is being adaptable.
Sure.
How do I adapt to this new situation? And we could talk about it like, hey, like I actually hate this part. Like, can we figure out how to get rid of this part or move it to somebody else? It's like, well, I don't know unless you talk, unless you tell me. So let's figure this out.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what I love about like what we've been able to build is just like have that open line of communication.
Sure.
Like, hey, Kyle, I need you to come in because I have this and someone else can't come in. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I'm in. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's figure it out.
Remember that time I scheduled you for a shift?
Yeah,
that
awesome.
was so fun.
I was so excited. It was my first scheduled shift, and I was just like, man, I'm nervous.
I know, you were nervous.
I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, you crushed it.
Yeah.
I like we role played. You're like, okay, so you're coming in and you want to use the hyperbaric and the red light therapy before.
Yeah.
How we're going to schedule
like I have like I have like the 30,000 foot view of like what needs to be done. If someone needs to learn about it, like I got it.
Yep.
But it's like tapping into like finding where their name is on the calendar. I'm like, oh gosh, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, check it, got it, nailed it. And I just like get excited.
Well, it's micro on the scale of what you do, right?
Yeah.
It's even down to that literal micro. And I was thinking about like when you're talking about adaptability, and it is important. And I do feel like personally, I tapped into that being a Marine wife. You have to be adaptable.
Yeah.
I mean, you start over we had 8. Yeah, we lived in 8 places in 12 years.
Oh my gosh.
And I was blessed to be a stay-at-home mom. I raised my kids while I finished my degree. And then, I was starting over a new career every, sometimes 6 months, depending on when I started that career.
Yeah.
And I felt like in any of my resumes, I had to explain why. They're like, wait, she's
you got fired a lot. Are you reliable? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I feel like I have to write full disclosure, Marine wife moves lots, right? And so now we're here. State College is our forever home, and this is where we want to raise our kids. But it's that adaptability. And then, I do feel like, and even in the younger generations, like our team is young. We have quite a few, we have collegiate athletes that work with us. We have club swimmers. We have, lots of, everyone has their own thing, right? And I know you mentioned like, hey, we want to help them too, but it's like, I feel like when we can lose a social aspect, right?
Yeah.
Like there's that social aspect where sometimes people just don't have like where they have that outgoing people skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was really like an integral part of us creating our team
Mm-hmm.
is like we make it. So I always tell the team, if somebody put the exact same studio or club in that we offer
Next door. Yeah.
right next door, I
Mm-hmm.
mean literally next
Mm-hmm.
door, why would people still come here?
Yeah.
And it's because of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's about the experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's how people feel when they leave here. And it has everything to do with us.
Yeah.
And so that's why, in the hiring process and just building our team,
Mm-hmm.
it's super important where, we're finding those people that have that and they
Yeah.
can enrich people's lives.
Yeah, and they want to be here.
Yeah.
Like that was one thing that, so I moved down from state college from Ithaca. I didn't move around a lot. I lived in one house for 18 years and then I was at Cornell and then I was there,
That's it.
So for 30 almost 31 years, I was in the same town my entire life. Like, yeah, I traveled a lot, but I only lived there.
Sure.
So it's a little bit different. But then moving down here, having to figure out like how to be that adaptable person and how to be like, okay, well, we got to figure this out and build a team. And, everyone's just a little bit different.
Sure.
And how do we tap into their skill set? Like, your skill set is different than mine, is different than whoever else is in here.
Yeah.
And like, what do we have to do? Like, what are some of the things that we're missing, but we need to fill in the gaps with who we hire.
Yeah.
And like pulling in these people has been cool, even though there's been some turnover, which is going to happen in a college town. But we've been able to, like you said, put together a really good team of people that want to be here. And it's just about how can we create an environment that our employees want to be here.
Yeah.
We have some employees that are doing 2 cycle classes.
I know.
A day,
I'm like, don't make me cut you off from cycle classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Like, and that I think is a true testament to the culture that we built here at Vitality is when you are not on the clock, you still want to come in and use the services. And I think that's so huge. I would never, and part of our training protocol is every single team member has to use every single modality. How could you ever tell somebody what something feels like if you don't know?
Yeah.
And that's, I think the authenticity piece of it is I would never suggest something for you or sell something to you that I don't know how it works myself unless you truly believe in it.
Yeah.
I would never ask you to do that, and so there is that piece of it. And so they come in and so, everyone's kind of even, our optimized services, right? So the Cocoon, the Balancer Pro, the Hyperbaric chamber, they use it and they're like, this is awesome, right? And then if it's your first time getting the Hyperbaric, they can tell you exactly what to expect. Like, hey, it is pressure, so you are going to have your ears are going to pop, and you might hear this sound, and this is what this means. And the most important part is making sure, especially for something like the Hyperbaric, because it looks so intimidating. But then once you use it, we have people that just get themselves in and out now, like that. But well, we still have to do it. But
they know what they're doing, because that's what we had to do at first. I was putting myself in the Hyperbaric and out of the Hyperbaric when we first bought it.
Right.
It was just because it was just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's cool that we are making people feel empowered that they can do it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the point is it's really just making the client feel comfortable and confident. And that starts with us, right? And so knowing the modality so well that, we can tell them, hey, these are the things to expect. This is my job, but I want you to know that you do have control if you need. You're not stuck.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the intimidating part of the Hyperbaric.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I can't get out of this thing.
Yeah. And you're never stuck.
I feel like everyone's mind goes well, what happens if there's a fire, earthquake, or whatever? It's we have protocol for that.
Yep, exactly. Here's this button, this button, this button, and we also know what to do, right?
Yeah.
We're well trained in what to do. So it's kind of one of those cool things. And just just clients seeing us maintain, and we just recently had somebody come in from California to do the maintenance protocol on the Hyperbaric and things like that. Our clients see that and they know that we're taking care of those modalities that we have and that they're utilizing. Because at the end of the day, we're here to just make their experience the best, which is why if we put something else next door, they're coming here.
Yeah. We definitely want them to come here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like to think of our clients, all of them are just a little bit different. And I just love hearing their stories. I love hearing your story too about, your eyes and your sleep and everything like that. you know, hyperbaric hasn't been something that you've been able to utilize as much because you're like one of two people.
It's so frustrating.
That have a hard time clearing your
I
ears.
put hundreds of people in that hyperbaric chamber, and I think just one other client, aside from myself, is the only one that physically can't do it.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, I am not weak. Okay.
Yeah.
I know
You're
pain.
super tough.
I know pain, and I know I can push through pain.
Yeah.
But that is just something that, and that's why I always tell anybody that's getting in it, there's a difference between discomfort and pain.
Yeah.
You can push through discomfort. If it's pain, you have to tell us, you know, and we'll either work through it or we'll find a different modality, which is really nice having the cocoon.
Yeah.
Right. It's another oxygenated service. So you're still able to receive the benefits of the oxygen into your system. It's just in a more relaxing, for me, more relaxing, and different modalities. So it's nice having those two options, especially if somebody is claustrophobic, right? Cocoon is absolutely where we would send them.
Yeah.
And sometimes people actually aren't claustrophobic. They just tell themselves they are. Because when you get in a hyperbaric, it's a lot bigger than you think it is. Oh, yeah. Like you can toss, you can turn, you know, like those kinds of things that I always like to tell people, you know, here's your lighting, here's your air conditioning. You know, it's like call the flight attendant button if you need anything.
Exactly.
So it's a cool thing, and for everyone to experience it. Everyone's interested. Like when they walk in, the hyperbaric's the wow factor.
Yeah.
People are like, what is that?
Yeah. And it's cool because we fit, you know, 6'5"
Oh yeah, he was like
football players.
He called, I think that was the best phone call I got. Super deep voice to just naturally match the description of this gentleman. And he's like, "Excuse me," he's like, "I'd like to come down and use the hyperbaric chamber." And that was too high pitched. Excuse me. It reminds me of Alex. But I was like, "Excuse me, I would like to come down and use the hyperbaric chamber, but I don't know if I'm gonna fit." And I was like, "Okay, well, you know, I think there's a good chance if you can give me some more information
about your measurements.
This. Yeah.
What's your waist and your chest
36,
size?
24, 36. So he's like, I'm 6'7", 325 pounds, like a lineman, right? And I was like, you know, there's only one way to find out.
Come on down, let's try it.
I said, let's try it. If not, we have another option for you. And he did. He fit, and he was comfortable. And so now we know we can fit pretty much anybody in there.
I know.
So we're always like, yep, absolutely,
definitely, no problem.
So it is funny, and it's super adaptable, and like I said, you get a lot more. There's way more room in there, so people that think that they don't do well in tight spaces can successfully do the hyperbaric. Yeah, it's fun.
Well, this has been great.
Yeah.
We'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
There's lots of fun stuff
you know where to find me.
Talk about. Yeah. Hopefully out front, or running your dog around, or
somewhere.
Being at volleyball or track practice, or
clients, personal training,
or Wegmans, or a million places
Yeah.
all over the place.
Wegmans. I do spend a lot of time there.
I am like I don't know how you do it. It's
Google Calendar.
I don't have one of those, but I don't know what that is.
Yes, you do. I send you invites for
and I don't look at them ever. I never look at them. It's just so impressive, and like super thankful to have you around and be a part of the team. And I know our clients are super thankful too, and our employees and everybody in between. So
likewise.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.